Right now, breaking news, the fire just lit up. Crews are not even on the scene yet.
This is along Buckingham Drive. It happened last night, reignited as our Jada Williams was live on scene. She is still there.
Right now, there are crews on the roof of this house, and they're cutting a hole into it to make sure that that fire that started first at around 10:40 last night and then reignited around 5 this morning doesn't reignite a third time.
A Quincy man is being hailed a hero after pulling a victim from a plane crash. Good Friday evening, I'm Abby Maurer. The small plane crashed into some trees in front of a home on Havana Highway. That's east of Quincy, near the Quincy Municipal Airport. The Gadsden County Sheriff's Office confirms one man was taken to the hospital. No word on his name or the extent of his injuries, although EMS says he was alert and coherent when they were taking him to the hospital. Sergeant Angeli Hightower says Rutherford Black Jr. pulled the trapped man from the plane. Black says he would have done what anyone would have done if they saw someone in trouble.
When I got out, I saw a guy moving inside, so I noticed that it had just happened. So I jumped the fence, broke the plexiglass, and dragged him out. And it was a lot of fuel coming out, and so I just dragged him over here in the corner, away from the plane, and just try to stabilize him, call 911.
No other injuries are reported. We don't yet know what caused the plane to crash, but the NTSB will be investigating.
Hurricane Michael, one of the strongest hurricanes to ravage Florida's panhandle in recent history, left a path of destruction unfamiliar to the Big Bend as recovery in the communities begin. WTXL ABC 27 presents to you Hurricane Michael, the recovery.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for Hurricane Michael, the recovery. I'm Christine Souders.
And I'm Malcolm Hornsby. Over the next hour, we'll take a look at the local devastation along Florida's coast, around Tallahassee, too. We'll hear from First Alert Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse about why Hurricane Michael formed and whipped through our area so quickly. We'll also hear from first responders who, as you know, have been working around the clock since the storm made landfall Wednesday morning.
But first this morning, we're taking a look back at preparations before the storm and the moments after impact.
Here's our Abby Maurer.
Gassing up and getting out, a common theme among residents living in the Florida Panhandle ahead of Hurricane Michael.
There were so many people evacuating and our neighbors evacuated, so we thought, well, peer pressure will drive us out.
Monday, the storm, which quickly gained strength after forming off the Yucatan Peninsula, had its eyes set for somewhere between the Emerald and Forgotten Coasts. By Tuesday, homeowners and business owners who planned to stay stocked up on bottles of water, non-perishable food, and generators.
Be prepared, yes, for yourself, yes, for your families, but also be prepared so that you can help your neighbors.
Overnight, it really ramped up from a lower end major hurricane to one that's going to be in the history books.
Wednesday, Hurricane Michael slammed into Mexico Beach at 155 miles per hour, just shy of a Category 5 hurricane.
Well, it's getting us a very shocking and clear picture of the eye wall here.
As quickly as the storm came, it went, knocking out power to 90% of Leon County and more than 15,000 homes in Gadsden County.
I can't say that we were actually ready for something like that because nobody could ever be ready for something of that magnitude.
Thursday morning, residents along the Gulf Coast, Panhandle, and Big Bend woke up to debris just everywhere. Power lines and power poles like this one with wires down everywhere, just widespread damage, and trees down all over the place, uprooted like this big one here.
So many lives have been changed forever. So many families have lost everything. Homes are gone, businesses are gone.
I was in the kitchen. I was talking to my friend, and the tree came toward my nose and a few feet away, 2 feet away from the house. It brushed my house.
But others not so lucky. A 70-foot tree crashed into this Tallahassee family's home.
When I heard it fall, I just knew to get up and run.
My husband jumped up and ran, and Stevie was coming out, and he was just covered in insulation from head to toe.
Some businesses like Matt Anthony's in Panacea, 60 miles east of where the storm hit, were torn apart.
It's bad. The floors is up. They have no business left here, not until they redo it.
Utility crews and law enforcement are now working around the clock to clear roads and restore power.
If you don't have a reason to be on the streets today, Please keep yourselves in your homes.
Michael, now the third largest storm to impact the United States in recorded history, left its mark on Tallahassee. It may be a while, but with neighbors helping neighbors, life will return to normal, and we will see how we truly are Florida strong. Abby Maurer, WTXL, ABC 27.
A tree snapped into and landed. I heard it snap and I heard it crash, and it landed right beside the car as I drove past, and I knew that's when it was time to really get to shelter.
Officer Rochelle Denmark of the Tallahassee Police Department says they are still in their emergency response operation to ensure the safety and security of the community regarding Hurricane Michael. They will not stop until that task is done and they can resume normal operation.
I spoke to one resident who's lived here in Franklin County his entire life, and he tells me the devastation following Hurricane Michael is far worse than anything he's ever seen.
When Dennis came through in 2005, we lost our home, and we lost everything we had. The flood waters that we've got with this storm was much, much worse. The devastation to me, by viewing it, is much worse than any other storm that I've viewed here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm First Alert meteorologist Alex Cordero. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 30s across the board, aside from 40s in Mariana and Apalachicola. Tallahassee is seeing 35 degrees, though the site is not measuring anything at this point in time. The last known temperature was 35. For all of us this afternoon, expect more clouds and highs in the mid to upper 60s. That's a look at the First Alert Next 27. Sunrise starts now.
I hadn't experienced anything like it before. It sounded like a sonic boom.
Now at 6, a large explosion in Roxville, Josta. Why neighbors now say the town smells like pecans.
Mitchell County authorities make an arrest in a fire intentionally set inside the Mount Zion Baptist Church. This morning we hear from church leaders.
And a recent study is helping Florida lawmakers come up with a decision on prison reform. I'm Jada Williams, live in Tallahassee, coming up on what that study found out about overcrowding in Florida prisons.
A Tallahassee family is thankful no one was hurt after a 70-foot tree crashed into their home. WTXL ABC 27's Jada Williams spoke with the family about the traumatic experience.
Waking up in a hotel room the morning after a hurricane isn't ideal, but the Glenn family is still thankful.
And to wake up and see that 11-year-old lost their life, that was hard for my husband and I, because it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Hurricane Michael tore through Leon County with wind speeds strong enough to uproot trees.
Tallahassee's beautiful with all the trees and canopy roads and stuff everywhere, but the ground gets soft and things like that, and next thing you know,
a 70-foot tall tree in the backyard came crashing into their 15-year-old son's room while he was in the bed.
My husband and I were sitting on the couch and kind of watching them sway and move and say, okay, if that one falls, we're kind of guesstimating in which direction is it gonna go, and we were trying to be precautionary and leaving the kids in their bedrooms to be safe.
But it turned out to be the most unsafe part of the house.
When I heard it fall, I just knew to get up and run.
My husband jumped up and ran, and Stevie was coming out, and he was just covered in insulation from head to toe.
There could be flash flooding issues, and all of us will experience at least a few hours of winds at or above 40.
This is likely going to make landfall, if not brush extremely close to the Key West.
Some minor street flooding, maybe in areas where there's just really poor drainage.
Northeast Florida could really see some tornadic storms rolling on through. You get these storms coming in off the ocean.
We are in our first alert mode this morning.
We're at the steps of the
winds as far as
where is the storm right now?
So this thing has consumed.
Still, that tropical storm field is quite massive.
First Alert Weather is an initiative to where
more than 1,500 customers without power.
Welcome to the WTXL Hurricane Special. Get prepared now. Brought to you in part by these fine sponsors. Your host, WTXL First Alert Chief Meteorologist, Casanova Nurse.
Welcome. I'm WTXL First Alert Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse.
Hermine and Irma. 2 different storms in 2 years, but they both sent us the same clear message. Preparation is key.
Every family needs to take a look at their own situation and work together to develop a plan so they know what they're going to do during a hurricane.
Now more than ever, it's an important reminder to make sure you have one of these hurricane survival kits ready in case the next storm threatens. If you live in this area, you need a hurricane kit.
Yeah, I got it.
For Kyle Thomas, this comes naturally. He and the guys at North Florida Fence and Tree Service from Gainesville
Keep going. Keep going.
are tackling their next job. But just one of them is going up that tree.
Rock and roll.
And it's Kyle. He was driving home with his wife 4 years ago when his life changed.
I had a really big limb, probably like this big, come straight through the middle of my windshield. And I stuck my arm out to grab my wife, and whenever I did that, the limb just snatched my arm.
Kyle was in a coma for 2 weeks and woke up to a new reality.
It was either amputate my arm or I was going to die because I caught gangrene. All right, go up.
Kyle said the state denied him disability pay 5 times, and he was back at work just a month after the accident.
I'm not the type of person that's just going to let something, this is small, you know, I'm here. That's the main thing, I'm still alive.
He's one of the hardest workers I've ever met. I mean, and he's all about safety, keeps my company going, and if I'm not there, I trust him with my life.
Kyle climbs about 3 trees every day, and every tree he climbs is another risk to his life. But he says helping people here in the Big Bend right now is worth it.
Camp Gordon Johnson was a major training facility. They trained commando troops here, and they were the main amphibious assault training base.
Entire divisions trained for months on end, specifically for D-Day, before shipping out to England for the attack. It was here on Carabel Beach and Dog Island where the U.S. Army's 4th Infantry Division actually trained for the Normandy invasion.
They had physical challenges, they had obstacle courses.
We wanted to see how the difference makers have been since airing their stories on the first Friday of each month. So we're giving you an update on what great things they've been doing. Some of our difference makers are shaping how our society understand social issues such as mental health and reducing recidivism. Their approach is unique and effective. Take a look.
And I got 2 more baked ziti's, both
On the menu today at Hope Community Center in Tallahassee, baked ziti and burgers cooked to order.
Refire is a kitchen term. It means to correct a mistake. So we're getting these individuals through our program, giving them the skills they need and allowing them to correct the mistakes they've made with their lives and move forward in a different direction so that we can break the cycle of recidivism.
When you talk about a mental health condition about somebody, they immediately think about violence and unpredictability and that sort of thing, when the fact is that somebody who suffers from mental health conditions are actually more likely to be victimized.
Creating art is a place of refuge for Jim Russell, who's witnessed more than most. After 25 years on the force, the now retired Florida State Deputy Chief is focused on his art. Many of his pieces portraying his own personal experience of dealing with mental health.
The guy in the hat, that's Mr. Ira Hamilton, and every week for the last, 4 or 5 years, this is what he does. The same way that I've always prayed for you, I want you to pray for me, okay?
Making sure others' needs are met during a tough time in his own life. The youngest of Pastor Jackson's 4 kids, 2-year-old Jay, was recently diagnosed with cancer.
My wife and I, my children, we understand this is just a process. And, this is something that we're going through, and she's going to beat it.
It may go into Europe and Japan with Flying Lotus, Kendrick Lamar's crew, and that's a whole new thing, this electronic music.
When George Clinton is not traveling and touring the world with his music, he's spending time at his home here in Tallahassee with his other passion, art, painting. And he does that here at his home at his art studio.
Football is fun again. From the music at practice to the quick nature of this new offense, it is clear that Taggart has come in and changed the culture of this program. One look around Florida State's practice field and things are a little bit different. Music, dancing, and football. Under Willie Taggart, that is the norm.
Different atmosphere right now, you know. It's a different family. You know, it don't feel like a job anymore. It feels like something that we love, that you love football in high school, now you love it again in college.
Lucas's epic of galactic good and evil. Heroes using lightsabers instead of swords. Star Wars has the same mythical qualities ancient storytellers used to fuel the imagination.
Because they're movies, they're not trying to tell you a story. They're fantasy given to you in a way to spark your imagination. And that's why I think a lot of the fans are very involved with it, is because they've poured themselves into it, so they're very passionate about it.
Passion that continues to live through generations, here and now, and in a galaxy far, far away. In Tallahassee, Valerie Mills, WTXL ABC 27.